Okay, it's recording.
Okay, awesome.
Oh no, do I have to say my thanks again? Because
No.
okay. All right. So yeah, with this presentation today, I'm gonna be talking about building team culture. This is gonna be about I think mainly about reflecting on the last 2 seasons that I've co-coached Credo Mix team together with Sam. Let me be clear, I don't count myself as a successful coach over the last 2 seasons. I think I haven't done as good as a job as I could have, but I'm getting better at every season that I coach. And there was certainly a lot of learning points from each session, each season, that I think would be really valuable to sharing with you guys. So thanks for listening in. So let's go on to the next slide. I am going to talk about a recap on my coaching experience. Okay, so it hasn't been like always great, but with Credo 2018, it was very strongly about, sending a team of really strong individuals. There was a huge sense of, we want to win, we want to beat MDC in the finals of nationals or whatever. But there was certainly a very strong sense of, doing really well and placing really high at nationals. With 2019, it was probably similar, but not very well defined. Bearing in mind that at the time when the mixed season started in 2019, I also got the news that I did not get selected for Worlds, and that really crushed me for a bit. So I was taken out of it for a bit, and this was like a really crucial time for, the team culture to be built, and to not be very involved in it was not very helpful. So a few things that I learned from the last couple of seasons was that it was not easy being honest whilst being tactful. So something that Becca touched on last week was about communicating with people. And I certainly am a violencer. I can sometimes be very straightforward. And whilst being straightforward can be great, it really doesn't do much for you if you're not tactful, because you do not get people's buy-in to your ideas, and that really does not help. So I learned that being tactful was one of my weaknesses and something that I'm still working on. The next thing that probably everyone kind of knows is leading from the front. Leading from the front is probably easier said than done. But it is key to making sure that you are a good leader. You can't expect people to just do what you want them to do. You have to do what you want them to do. And like I mentioned, all the failures that I've gone through are also key lessons that I've taken away with me. And I'll talk a little bit here about coaching as a woman, and also in a mixed team. So it wasn't very difficult, because I think Credo as a collective has always been very strong on gender equity and equality. But what I realized that I needed as a coach was, if I had a male counterpart, which I did, was that I need that person to be on board with gender equity. It wasn't too hard, because Sam, who is my actual partner in real life, is also my coaching partner for both seasons. So it wasn't too hard for me, because like he was totally on board with gender equity. So I hope that if in the future you guys get to coach mixed teams, you have a partner that's very strong on that as well. With that, I also needed someone to support me quietly and not just step in anytime something was wrong. And by that, an example that I can think of is, say, if we were in a group huddle and someone was like talking and laughing and blah, 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 and I wasn't really paying attention to that. I needed maybe Sam to tell me that someone was doing something wrong, and instead of him stepping up to tell that person that he was doing something wrong, I should take the ownership and the responsibility to tell that person that something's going wrong, and in that way you can communicate with that person and also develop a relationship there as well, and also slowly gain the respect of your individuals, just because people are so, I guess, like used to a male person leading, whereas they're not as used to a female person leading. So yeah, let me go on to the next slide. This is a mantra that I think has carried on through from the last few seasons with Credo as a player or as a leader. Never be too big to do the small things that need to be done. It's pretty self-explanatory for this. And I love my team, so my team's in the background. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about some comparisons that we had between Credo 2018 and 2019. I'll bring up some key things that I thought was really important. So with the selection results in Credo 2018, we actually did every single selection result in person. So Sam and I had to speak to 60 people in 2 hours of I think it was over 2 nights, that we had to tell everyone like, hey, you made it or you didn't. It was really, really, really tough. But I think in that it really helped me understand what people were feeling, and it's there was connection between the people. It also helped align people who made the team to what we were after as well. It was just a crazy time, but a great time, though it was hard. But in Credo 2019, we went back to email notifications because we simply just did not have the bandwidth. I mean, I was pretty upset with everything in my life, so I was just like, bye. And then next, let me see, why is it not next? Okay, next, with training frequencies in Credo 2019, it basically was 50% of the training that we had in Credo 2018. That is obviously a lot of room for less communication, less of the team going through a tough situation together, less game time, less of everything. So that's one of the key things that I want to bring up for later. Also with local scrimmages, I'm not talking about warm-up tournaments. With Credo 2018, we had plenty of tough warm-up games leading up to nationals. This was mainly with mobility scuba, whereas in Credo 2019 we had no warm-up games. This meant that I clearly remembered this in 2018 when we had our first scrimmage against mobility scuba. There were people who cried, there were people who broke down, there were people that were violent. And it meant that the crunch time happened way earlier on in the season, and it meant that we could fix things early on instead of at nationals. And unfortunately for Credo 2019, our crunch time was really at nationals, and there was a lot of breaking down during the tournament. Did someone unmute themselves? Sorry, I was just like hearing a lot of feedback. Cool. And with goal setting, another important thing that we did not do in Credo 2019 was a goal setting session. In Credo 2018, we did one right at the start of the session, even before teams were selected. We sat down for our first training to do a 2-hour-long goal setting session. And this was obviously team focused, player led. Whereas in Credo 2019, it was like Okay, we're just going to assume that we're building on from what we did last year. Yep. So yeah, these are some key differences. Obviously, at the tournament, we also did not do as well. But yeah, that also, like, there are many factors to that as well. So next, I'm going to show you guys the book that I've read leading up to today's presentation. A lot of what I'm going to talk about next is from this book, a lot of key ideas. Has anyone read this book before? Wait, let me see. If you have, raise your hand. Okay, I'm going to assume that no one. Oh, Kara, you've read it before? Yeah.
I haven't, Nick has.
Oh, okay, cool. So yeah, a lot of what I'm going to talk about is going to be ideas based off Legacy. It was like this book really gave me a point of reflection and more of an idea of what I should be focused on in the next season of Credo if I get to coach Credo again. So vision and action. I think with vision and action, it was one of the hardest things to do. As a leader, you often have a vision. I had everything written down on paper. I was like, yeah, I want Credo to be this. I want Credo to be that. But executing it was really, really difficult. And think about like political leaders that have big aspirations and often fail in execution. It kind of felt like that, except that I wasn't a huge political leader because I'm not. But yeah, it was tough. And it's basically one of the failures of a lot of leaders if you read up a lot about, I guess, leadership. So to think about vision and action is about setting goals with your players. Your players have to set the goals. It's not you. You have this ideal picture of what you want out of your team, but it's very important that, you know, your players are the ones that actually lead with the vision. You want to make the vision into something that players could identify with. For example, you can use a theme to, you know, create that vision. An example from the Crusaders rugby team in Canterbury, they have a theme that comes from Shakespeare. For he today who sheds his blood with me shall be my brother. So that's like a very strong, unifying, like family orientated like theme that they have, and that's something that they carry out through a season with them, or like years and whatnot. Does anyone feel the same about vision and action? Like, has anyone gone through a leadership role and felt like they had a vision but found it hard to execute? No?
Yeah, I've definitely had that with blueberries.
Yeah, cool.
It takes years, and you try and improve on it little by little and hope that you eventually get there.
Yeah, basically. But yeah, it's something that could always be better every season that you get through with a team, like Janelle said. So in this book, there are some key areas of focus. This is when creating culture. The first one being sufficient leadership knowledge and confidence to implement the game plan. This is basically tactical knowledge, something that a lot of coaches have, but not something that we'll talk about today because I'm not the most technical, knowledgeable person out there. In the co-coaching role that I had with Sam was mainly doing the technical side of things. I'll also be in the book, and what I'll also be talking about are the 3 C's: connection, collaboration, and communion. You want to create a sense of belonging with your team. You want to find out who they are, what they stand for, their collective and individual responsibilities towards the team. This can be done through goal setting. So you want your team individuals to understand their identity within the team. It's very important for them to, very important for you and them to understand why. Why are they giving up their evenings to come train with you? Why? Because they feel like there is a goal that they have to strive for and it's worthwhile doing that. Then we'll also talk about transference of leadership and responsibility from coaches to players. So it's in the book, in Legacy, they talk a lot about leaders and players being leaders. And it's about creating a group of leaders, because if you create a group of leaders with a common goal, that's going to be way stronger than a team of followers. And next, we'll be talking about development of leadership ability and composure. This is basically training under high pressure situations, which will help solidify leadership and decision-making skills. So you guys probably have a lot of questions now about all these broad ideas. But what we're going to do is dive deeper into each idea. Oh, okay. So performance equals capability plus behavior. The way you behave will either bring out the best or the worst of your capability. Okay, behaviors of a player exist in two domains. One is private and one is public. Think about public as a player being in a training environment during a game when they have to exhibit like professionalism. And then private is when the player is by themselves. They have to confront their habits, their limitations, temptations, and fears. As a leader, you are really focused on designing and creating environments which drive the high performance behaviors needed for success. So basically, your culture equals capability plus behavior to bring out the best performance that you have of your athlete. Does that make sense? Cool. So yeah, in the book, they talk a lot about creating a culture or an environment where the challenge is always to improve. So to always get better, you always want to challenge yourself, even when you are the best. The best teams out there challenge themselves all the time. They do that. I mean, the best teams, especially, always challenge themselves. You always want to do that, even when you are the best, especially when you are the best. You want an environment where adaptability is your main strength. So in evolution, it is not the strongest species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the ones that are most responsive to change. Think about the last game that you played that was exceptionally hard, and you needed players to adapt to a different style of playing. The players that were able to adapt well was probably one of your key game players. They were important in that game. So yeah, adaptability is so important. Okay. And you want an environment where players play with a purpose. So the more you have to play for, the better you play. The more players will feel like they need to sacrifice for your team. And lastly, you are a cog in a machine. When I say that, I don't mean that you are just another structure of a machine. I want you to think about it as everything you do adds up to what the team accomplishes. Would anyone like to share how their team culture is? Like, is there like, yeah, like anyone would like to share about their team culture? No?
I can share a little bit about Womxn's, just in that we've had an interesting experience in that we've kind of had to rebuild multiple times over multiple years, because we tend to have a lot of players leave for one reason or another. They move away, they get pregnant, and or they have retired or have the kids that they have been pregnant with. And so bringing on new players can really change a dynamic in a culture, because you bring on new personalities, even one or two, but when you add 5 or 6 new players, it can really mix things up a bit. So it's been interesting to sort of have to go through a bit of a starting from the basics every year. Yeah, so that's been, I mean, we've done some things well and some things not. And we've done goal setting and tried to do mentoring and buddy systems and things like that. And we definitely have goals and values around keeping it fun and challenging ourselves to improve. So also because of the influx of new players, it's often a skill development progression as well. So yeah, so we've been growing as a club in a lot of ways. So that's been interesting.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, it's often super hard to bring on like 5 new players at a time. And I think with Credo 2019 and 2018, we basically had a similar number of different players, and we didn't do a lot of goal setting for the second season, and that was really, really crucial in setting that culture, I guess, that identity and that purpose for a player to be there. So yeah, I can see how hard it is for you if you had 5 new players every season. Cool. Thanks so much, Jana. So next, the slide. Come on, slide, move. Okay. So yeah, a quick little phrase. The emotional glue of any culture is its sense of identity and purpose. Any culture, I feel like you need to have a sense of identity and purpose. So we're going to talk about the 3 C's that I mentioned earlier: connection, collaboration, and communion. I use this picture over here because these were the 3 coaches for Credo 2019 season, Sam, Matt, and myself. And I thought it was good for this slide. So I'm not saying that I'm a good leader, but good leaders need to understand and work hard to create a sense of connection, collaboration, and communion. This will drive an individual's intrinsic motivation and basically give someone the reason to belong and to sacrifice for the team. Noting as well, when you are a leader trying to, carry out your vision, know that every player that is coming to your training or choosing to be there at training is basically doing it as a freely chosen task. You want to create a tensionless state that, players are basically striving and struggling for a worthwhile goal. It's really important to create this state, because if you make someone feel like they have to do this and at the same time don't feel like it is worthwhile doing it, then what is the damn point? no one's gonna show up. Yeah. So a sense of inclusion means individuals are more willing to give themselves to a common cause, and that's the whole thing about culture. You want to make them feel like they have a sense of belonging and a reason to be together. And this cannot be done without communication. Communication is the most important to working together. And like some things that I think Credo could have talked about a little bit more, which we didn't, was like amongst players, how do we handle our expectations? handle pressure, how do we want our leaders to lead, how do we want our players to lead, and also the legacy that you want to leave behind as a Credo player. We never really talked about any of this, and it's through these kind of little things that you talk about that can really cement like certain things or a sense of belonging. And that's something that I think the book really focused on. It was a lot about, talking and communicating, finding out what's important to each individual in the team. Let's see. So the greater the connection between people, the more resilient the team is, the stronger the team means the better the players. Does everyone agree? Cool. Thanks. Thanks for agreeing. So next, we are going to talk about being a cog in a machine. You are a cog and your team is the machine. By that, it means that you allow shared responsibility and shared ownership. You advance and you fail together as a team. Oh my God, stop. And this means that you'll be able to instill a sense of great self-worth to everyone on the team. Or at least you need to strive to do that. So with being a coach and being a leader, it's very important to not micromanage your team players. You want to give like clear and concise information or expectation, but really the rest is up to your individuals to execute what you want. Yeah. If you let them do this earlier on in the season as well, it means that when it comes to crunch time, they have gone through something similar before, but they know what is expected of them. This allows you to build on trust and a common understanding. It also brings people together, and it allows your players to be your leaders. Let me see. Cool. Does anyone have any questions at the moment? No. Cool. We'll move on. So next, we're going to talk about goal setting. Yay, such happy faces. Goal setting. If you have ever started your own company, your goal is never to start a company. Your goal of starting your company will never be about getting rich. And the same could be said about your ultimate Frisbee team. Your set goal is never about beating the competition. That basically sets you up for failure. So if you like lose to one competitor, does that mean that, game's over? No, it's not about that. Your goal should be about doing the greatest thing possible, or even a little greater. Remember, it is about the purpose and the passion that matters. The way we think about something is more important than what we think about it. And when given a choice, we want them to follow their gut. So I mentioned before at the start as well, with vision and action, goal setting is important in that in setting your vision. It's all about the players. You want your players to set the goals. It's not you, because you know what you want. Every individual on the team knows what they want, but it's about coming together to set a common goal. If you're going to be vision driven and values based, players have to be a huge part of setting that. Your role as a leader is to basically find out their why. Why am I coming out on a cold Thursday evening to play 3 hours of Frisbee? Why am I sacrificing my weekend to go play Frisbee? Besides it being fun, why am I playing with Credo? Why am I playing with this team? You want to find out their why, and then you want to attract others through shared values, visions, and beliefs. And with that, you can also basically you want to form a family, your whānau, our mates, our tribe, our team. Da-da-da. And I was thinking we take a quick break over here, maybe a 5-minute toilet break or something.
Yeah.
Sweet. Okay. Any questions so far, anyone? Because now's a great time to also ask questions. But if not, 5-minute break. I'll see you guys back at 8. God, I cannot work. My brain, Matt, what is it? What's the time in 5 minutes?
I've got 8:07. So 8:12, 8:12.
Oh yeah. Okay, mine's 8:06. Okay, 8:12. Yeah, but if you have questions, ask now too.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
So you're talking a lot about team culture, and it's really awesome, but a lot of it is assuming that everyone gets on board at the start. How would you deal with this if you have a few players who are not buying into the team, because that
Mhm.
can really put like a damper on the whole culture?
Mhm.
How would you deal with that?
That's a great question because I felt that in Credo 2018 and 2019 we had such different players each season, and some of them I would say are pretty what's that word? They're like different, and they don't necessarily agree with what we try and set out to do in the previous years before. And I can't say that I successfully managed to win them over. And that's what I thought this book was really, really helpful about, is that if you have players that are not buying into the culture, it's probably better to ask them how they can buy into the culture, communicate with them, and find out why they want to be with us. Because if you don't want to buy into the culture, then why are you with Credo? Surely there's a reason for that. And if you understand that, then you can basically communicate and find out how you can bring out that side of them that really wants to be there, and how you can slowly bring them into buying into your culture. The thing is, I think a lot of people who are different or are difficult don't necessarily understand that they are being difficult or different. And basically you want to help align them with what you're trying to do, and you do that by basically communicating, and yeah, doing the goal setting together, talking together as a team, and things like that. Yeah,
Awesome. Thank you so much. Nice.
no worries. Okay, I'm just gonna take a quick toilet break myself.
Nick, my other suggestion on that, since Kat's having a toilet break, is as much as you can set up the expectations you have for the team and how you anticipate your culture being early in the piece, and then tie them back into that, because difficult conversation one was really good for that. And like, if you set that expectation, like, this is our team culture, this is what we expect you to buy into, and then they still sign up and trial and everything and make the team, then it's much easier to be like, you knew what you were getting in for, now we need you to get in line.
You guys like my plants? Plants.
How many
So
do you
many
have?
plants.
Cool. All right. How are we doing for time? Okay, we'll just get back into it because I think it's been 5 minutes. Sweet. So for now, our mates, our tribe, our team. No dickheads, actually. So with for now, you want to make sure that you are putting your family first. And no dickheads is actually from the All Blacks. They actually have one of these like little notes in their mantras that no one is bigger than the team, and individual brilliance does not automatically lead to outstanding results. One selfish mindset can infect a collective culture. I think everyone here can probably think of one like instance of a team player being selfish and how that has really wrecked your team in like certain games or certain crunch times. It's like so easy to destroy something that you guys have built over the course of a season. So yeah, it's really important to make sure everyone's on board with not being a dick.
Do you use that as the selection criteria? Like personality fit with the team? I mean, someone could be super skilled, but do you choose them because you know that they could be a dickhead?
Yeah, I mean, Credo's selection criteria talks about how you are when it comes to communicating with individuals. I'm pretty sure there is a criteria there. It's not necessarily, it wasn't specifically no dickheads, but it definitely talks about your behavior as a player and how that is a selection criteria.
And I guess, sorry, on that, when you were doing your in-person results and conversations about the selections, did you have to have that conversation with anyone just in terms of, or either even we've selected you, but we need you to work on your collaboration skills and your communication skills if you're going to be part of this team?
Yeah, we definitely had, I won't name any names, but
yeah,
we
no,
had
I don't want
male,
names, but
yeah, we had a male individual that was very obviously all about, you know, playing the big game. Like, I'm just gonna huck it and someone else is gonna run for it. But at the same time, kind of didn't really show like that he really cared. And before selections actually happened, we had to have a chat with him and said like, hey, you gotta reel it in. You gotta show that you are a team player and that you're gonna show up on time and that you are going to dedicate, you know, this 2 hours to the team. Otherwise, don't even think about it. And he was an excellent player. He is an excellent player. And yeah, this specific incident though was identified by Sam Lennart, and he had to have that conversation with that guy, which was awesome because it really changed quite a bit for us. Because like when your best players are difficult, they are often also very influential, and you really have to reel it in for those players because they're going to be seen as, you know, the best players, the leader on the team in some way or the other. Cool.
thanks.
Thanks, Jana. So being a team, think of a spearhead. For a funnel to function, everyone must move towards the same point. Players are free to choose where they want to like go towards, like, but when you think of a spearhead, it is most efficient when they are all working together towards the same point. And basically you want your team to be a spearhead. When players work hard and work together, it shows that they care for their whānau. And you want to work for your whānau. I think a lot of you guys would have seen this phrase before. For the strength of the pack is the wolf, and the strength of the wolf is the pack. You basically want to be a great team player. Okay, wait, before moving on. Does everyone agree with this sentence that, you know, to be a great team player, you have to be part of a wolf pack? Sweet. I can't see half of your faces anyway, so yeah. Okay, good. Everyone agrees.
I like that the cog in the machine. It's kind of similar to that cog in the machine quote, but yeah, I like that you clarified you're not just a nameless, faceless, throwaway piece. If you don't have that cog, the whole thing could fall apart. And same like this, a lone wolf isn't as strong as in a pack. Yeah,
it's all about what you bring to the team, and it's a collective thing. When I brought that up first, when I was doing a test presentation with Sam Lennart, he was like, but a cog in a machine often has negative connotations of it. You're just like this thing. You're not really bringing anything to the team besides being a player. But it's really more than that. It's like you as a person are part of this collective that is achieving something great. Same with the wolf in the wolf pack. So in the wolf pack, you also want to create an environment for peak performance. We talked about this at the very start, the equation about peak performing environments. What can you do to support this? And again, it comes down to that strong peer-to-peer interaction, that strong communication, that strong, communion. And you want to basically build that high level of trust amongst your teammates. You want to have a sense of safe vulnerability. So I think this one's like important, because a sense of safe vulnerability means that you allow players to make mistakes and not feel like they can't make mistakes. They can. And in fact, make all the mistakes that you need to in training, because when it comes to the crunch time, that's when we don't want you to make a mistake. And it's okay to mess up, to turn over this, but you must know that you are going to improve for the team, You want to have an environment where individuals get to know each other as people. Like I said, I think Credo really failed in this area. We talked a lot about just being friends on the field, but once we're outside of training, we don't necessarily have to be friends. But that really does not allow you to get to know each other as people. And I think that strong connection on and off the field is super key to creating a resilient team. And next, role modeling behavior around mistakes, weaknesses, and fears. This is particularly important for leaders to creating that sense of safe vulnerability as well. It is okay to make mistakes. It is okay to have weaknesses. It is okay to have fears. There's no one that doesn't have any of this. I mean, even like, I don't know, there are so many good players here in this Zoom chat. Like, everyone makes mistakes. I have weaknesses. I'm bloody short, but I, train really hard and run really fast. And I have fears. I have fear that Nick will sky me every time that this goes up. Like you have fears, and it's okay to have fears. Like, you should acknowledge that. as a leader and as a player to yourself that everyone has these and it's okay. With all of this, you basically want to promote a culture on honesty, authenticity, and safe conflict. So this, honesty equals integrity equals authenticity equals resilience equals performance. Cool. And next, we're gonna jump into preparation. You want to train to win, and you want to practice under pressure. I think a lot of top level teams in New Zealand do quite a lot of this, where you have scrimmages with tough teams. You can see that in our national teams as well. You try and send them to Australia before Worlds. You try and get your best pickups in a region to play against your national team players as well in a certain region. And basically, you want to train to win. You want to develop mindsets into training to win as well. I said earlier, and I will say it again, with Credo 2019, there wasn't a lot of training to win. We basically had one training a week, and we just showed up and did drills, scrimmaged against one another, but really there wasn't a whole lot of high pressure situations. With training to win, you really want to put your players under pressure. You want to basically throw lots of problem solving situations that will allow them to learn for the long term, make mistakes early so that you can learn from that and apply your lessons when it really matters, at nationals, when it really matters, when it's universe point. Yeah. When you train with intensity, it also accelerates personal growth. And really, the main thing is that it practices keeping calm, clear, and connected through highly pressurized situations. Does everyone agree with this? What do you guys do, like in your different regions? Do you guys train to win, like by training hard against tough opponents as well? Or are you guys just the top players of the top team of each region, so it doesn't matter?
I can talk probably about that. In Hamilton, we don't have another team to scrimmage against, so we scrimmage against ourselves, or we might scrimmage against the second team.
Mm-hmm.
So it is hard to develop those pressure situations, but the last few seasons we've split into O-line and D-line and have trained against each other the whole season. I think that helps.
That really will help, yeah.
But it also meant that the O-line trying to learn a new strategy was really hard, and like every training sucked for me. But then at nationals, it was very easy. So like, I guess there was a lot of learning going on while everyone was sucking, but at the time it didn't feel great.
So I take it that you were on the O-line?
Yeah.
Nice.
I think Sim's in this call. She was on the D-line. Oh no, she's gone now.
Oh, damn it.
Yeah. But yeah,
Okay.
So like that's a good way to build pressure, is like we had two teams that were training against each other, but we were one team at the end.
Yeah, it really, really helps, because like you're put under such high pressures, and like, yeah, to hear that, it was tough for you means that the D-line was doing something good. And it also
Really,
made you better.
every training sucked until the Monday before nationals.
Damn, I don't know what that would do for your confidence, but I'm glad it worked out.
Well, it was, I guess, varying degrees of learning, but yep.
Nice. Thanks for sharing, Kelly.
All good.
Sweet. Next, we are going to talk about language. So again, back to culture building. I have Nathalie over here, very pretty girl. I think with language, it's like super important to invent your own language, your own mantras, your own team vibe. You know, it can come across really cliche, but you know, something that just a sentence to remind you of what you're here to do is so important. Before I moved, before I even came to New Zealand, I was a sprint kayaker for 3 years. And my mantra was nothing worth doing is ever easy. I lived and died by that mantra. I woke up on Sunday mornings, every Sunday morning at 6 a.m. to go train. Like I was already training like 4 times a week, and I would add in this extra Sunday to remind myself that, hey, I'm here to achieve something great. I'm here to, you know, win or whatever. But like, you know, it was all about training hard, and it could do wonders for a team as well. Basically, you want like your mantras and your language to rope back into your team culture. Examples that I have taken from the All Blacks are: no one is bigger than the team, leave it all out on the field, and it's an honor, not a job. Does anyone have like team mantras that they'd like to share from their team?
I'll share one of Jenny Parker's because she's always got wise words, and so I just share them with others. Her go-to phrase is "Don't let the game happen to you, happen to the game." And she read that in a book somewhere. And when she tells our newer players that, you can see them really glove onto it. Like it clicks with something there, and especially because if you feel like you're not in a game and you're just going through the motions, or you're getting beat on D, or you're not being able to do the things you want to do, it does make you stop and think, well, okay, why is that happening, and what can I do to have me happen to the game instead of just letting whatever happens, you know, affect your play. So that's a good one I found. That's
a really good mantra. And like, imagine if your team could come up with a common mantra. Like, that's gonna do wonders. Like, it's just like, if this person's being shitty and then you just use like your mantra, and then they're like, oh shit, I can't be shitty. Like, does anyone watch Mandalorian? Yeah, this is the way. Like, they're in the middle of like gonna fuck each other up, and they're like, this is the way. And it's like, you know, something like that could just be so enlightening. And when it comes to like the crunch time, the pressure points, just like having that in your head could do wonders. So yeah.
And I have one in Marvelous. A few like of the early years, we kind of just organically developed that it was like leave it all out on the field was the mantra, and it's because like the team itself is quite like highly emotional, so everything good comes out, everything bad comes out, and it's a lot of individuals and like people that are like good in their own discipline. So if you had like leave it all out in the field, it's like whatever emotions you have, it's like kind of like reminding you to put that out into like the universe and into your play instead of like keeping it internally, and then like building on those emotions, which will eventually like come out like negatively in your team. So I think that was kind of a curious one that just happened to develop. So it helped a lot of people, I think.
That's really good, because like, especially if it comes out organically, and especially when like MDC has gone through so much together from how long ago, like things like that, and like the fact that you guys you know, call each other family and things like that is gonna help build that culture. I mean, MDC has a solid culture. It's about playing hard, and yeah, I mean, it would be tough if you have a highly emotional team, and I think that is pretty common, especially in top tier teams, because like you have individuals that were star players from somewhere at some point, and it's important to align everyone to a common goal.
Yeah, it's a lot of personality.
Yeah, yeah. But you know, it keeps things interesting.
That's for sure.
Thanks, Rich, for sharing. Anyone else has team mantras that they'd like to share?
So I
Jana's
have one.
posted embrace the suck, which is awesome.
What? Sorry?
I
Jana
have one.
posted embrace the suck.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Sorry.
quality.
It's raining and it's cold and it's windy. Just can't fight it. Embrace it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
At bench, at the start of the season, we put together one where at the start of each game and each training, we would all like penguin huddle essentially, and anyone, didn't have to be a coach or a captain or anything, would do a call response with the rest of the team, and it would start with "I'm at training," and then everybody else would be like, "I'm at training," and then the rest of it would say, "I will give for the next 2 hours, I will give my full effort and attention for the good of myself and for my team." And after each sentence, the rest of the team would echo it. And we found that was really good for getting into the right headspace and getting everybody on the same page. So like whatever was happening before the game or before training, you just like block it out of your head, and then you would be committed to the things that you were providing for the team, and then everybody would operate as a whole unit. And that was something that the wording, I think somebody stole from someone in USAU, one of those clubs.
Classic.
But we adapted it for our purpose and for the things that we wanted to buy in, what our values were. And we found that particularly helpful.
Nice. Thanks, Cam. That's awesome to hear that it works. I think some people are afraid to get into team mantras because it may seem too cliche, but it works. Like, come on. Yeah. Sorry, Priscilla. How to pronounce your name? You were going to say something.
Oh yeah. So I think for last season flood, we had something like every point is a new game, and I think resetting that mindset to like the bigger picture sort of helped with us, especially in our Tamaki throwdown game against Hamatron, where we were down 2-13, I think.
Whoa.
And we ended up I forgot the score, but I think we ended up winning.
You guys won on Universe.
Yes, we won on Universe.
Yeah. You had 2 and we had 13.
That is
Kelly remembers.
Yeah,
Wow.
it was a good comeback.
That is amazing. That is awesome. Thanks for sharing, Priscilla. Tara,
Is that on the live stream? Can we go watch that?
No, it was at Tamaki.
Oh, Tamaki. Oh.
Yeah.
Damn, you guys should be at Chalice because, wait, Chalice, is that the right tournament? Okay, never mind, forget it. But Tara, were you going to say something and you got cut off as well? No? Okay, cool.
I was going to say something. One of my
Right.
seasons ever, I think 5 years ago now, we had some awesome captains and they had like 3 team mottos that we like always like lived by Enchanted, and it was like one of the best seasons and most fun I've ever played, and it's because we live by these mantras. And we had fight the entropy, we had no salt, and then we had everyone's MVP. And even if I don't like bring these up with my teams these days, it's something that I always think about, and yeah, I really like those, and they're really good ones if anyone wants to use them.
I like the no salt one. No salt. Yeah. We got a lot of salt in Christchurch. Nah, just kidding. Yeah.
There's a lot of salt in Auckland too, Kat. Or salt everywhere.
Everywhere, just like sprinkle everywhere. Just like pour everywhere. Okay. Cool. Thanks everyone for sharing it. I hope like, you know, some of these mantras can be taken away and used somewhere else. And yeah, cool. This is so weird. Every time I'm like saying something and no one responds, I'm like, Zoom. Okay. Next slide. So we've come to the end of this presentation. I have some key takeaways and maybe some things that you could work on as a future leader or as a current leader in your environment or your scene. So I think goal session settings are important. Creating an environment that drives high performance behaviors are also important. Think about the 3 C's whenever you try and execute anything. And you want to prioritize developing mindsets under high pressurized situations. And lastly, find ways, find mantras, find language to rope your actions and thoughts back to your team culture. Cool. And that's the end. Thanks, guys. Does anyone want to ask any questions or share their experiences as leaders in building team culture?
I have a question. I've played in a lot of teams, all different competitions or whatever, and there's always like a group, say like half, like under 10, maybe like 8 people that are like really talented and like the main driving force of the team, and then the other half are either like newer or they don't rate themselves as highly. So it's like everything goes well when you're training, you know, when you're like making goals, everyone has similar goals, of course, like everyone wants to do the best in themselves. But then when it comes to the crunch time, a lot of the time I find either the responsibility gets put on those 8 people, either for them taking it on themselves, or they're people who don't think they're good enough putting it on them. How do you like develop a culture where it's like, even if they are lesser, whether they think it or not, they can step up to the challenge, and then those people that are like more big-headed can take a step back and appreciate every member of their team, because you can't play with 8 people. How do you, because I find a lot of, and it's across like new leagues, like world's teams, it's it's common.
I think like, I don't think there's a straightforward answer to this question, and I don't think I have successfully gotten, you know, fixed that issue before, but I definitely have seen it. We've had similar experiences in Credo, maybe more so in Credo 2018 than 2019, where we had a lot of our male players step up when a lot of our female players stepped down when it came to like the crunch time. And when I say crunch time, I actually meant the finals of 2018. A lot of our players just like either, you know, started doing too much, throwing big things that really should not have been thrown. And then we had players who were excellent the whole weekend, just like suddenly became a shell of themselves. I think this is mainly about what I talked about transference of leadership, or from your leaders to your players. Allow your players to feel empowered. It's not like an easy thing to do, but I think a lot of it is during practice, during tough situations, during high pressure situations. Basically you want your players that are known to have stepped down, step up. Like, you don't have to pacify every single player. You have to let them fail. Let them feel like they can fail and they can learn from a situation. That obviously will take time and repetition and a lot of high pressure situations to practice that. But it can be done. I've seen players who have always been shell of a player and shine during tough situations. It's like, it's wonderful when you see that happen, but it does not happen to everyone. And it's about knowing when to let the rope loose a little bit, and when you have to tighten up as well, when you have to pacify and help them during certain situations, and sometimes you just have to let them go ahead and fail. And I think as leaders, you really have to realize that you have to let players fail as well, and not just pick on everything, because that will replicate itself when it comes to the crunch time.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because I also feel like people's perceptions of people, especially in small, like frisbee countries like New Zealand, it's like a lot of the time people get judged on their name and what they've done a few times than their actual ability or how much they've been working on. So yeah, I know it's a really complex question, but it's something like, since playing as a random player over here, it's like so refreshingly nice to not be like Bridge who did XYZ and is good at this and this. It's just like whatever. So yeah, I think if it's something we could work on as like leaders of community, just like not putting perceptions of ability on something, it would probably help cultivate a lot more disparity in teams.
Yeah,
so
such a good question. I hadn't really thought of that or like formulated that in my mind before, but I agree completely that pretty much every team I've played on, you notice the same thing.
Yeah, and it's like in like my under 23s, like that team second year, it was like so blatantly half-half, and then mixed always is accidentally half-half, like usually based on gender, usually based on perceived ability, whether it's correct or not. So I think it's a massive issue, but I just wanted to get different opinions on it.
I liked Nick's everyone's an MVP comment, Metro. Maybe that would start to unravel those issues.
I think a lot of it is also like what your leaders set out to do, especially when it comes to like I guess like women versus men in those kind of situations. I think with Credo, we've been very, very focused on gender equity. That it's, I don't know, I think it is getting better with every season. And we try not to be like, okay, she's gonna be like nothing right now, or like he's just gonna be a dick right now. It's kind of like you really have to, I don't know, let them fail, and then let them see what people are capable of as well.
Or also be okay with the team failing for the future benefit of your weaker players. Otherwise they're going to remain weak. Like I felt like I didn't improve for years because I was put in that box. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. Cool. Anyone else have any questions?
Does Credo have, because I know some pockets of you guys are quite close friends, do you ever get the feedback, or have you ever heard that sometimes people might feel it's cliquey? And I'm not saying that I've heard that about Credo, but sometimes Vixens gets feedback about that just within the squad, there's certain people who are friends outside of the field, and it's not that they're not friends with other people, but it just, some are just teammates, and some have known each other for 10 years and go away on weekends together and have that closer relationship. But and sometimes when newer players come onto a team, it can, you're new to everyone, and so you're trying to make friends, and maybe that's one of your goals about being part of the team, is to build new relationships and meet people and stuff like that. So, but have you ever, I know with a team that have been together so long, and you've got probably some groups that are closer than others, have you ever had to deal with that in terms of team culture, of just making sure that there isn't cliques?
It's funny because like with Credo, we're just like, recently it's been like a team of couples. So not necessarily cliques, but like, oh, okay, they're all like partnered up. So like they just get along because they're all partnered up.
Hopefully no one breaks up.
Yeah, oh my God. Awkward. Um,
Just kidding,
yeah, we.
Sorry if someone
I
has.
mean, no. I don't think so. I don't remember, but yeah, I think this one's hard. I have not gotten feedback about whether we are too cliquey, but I assume that people definitely at some point felt like they did not belong. Um, and like I said, I think one of the failures of Credo in the last couple of seasons is that we did not try and get to know each other outside of Frisbee. There were people who said like, we just have to be friends on the field. We don't have to be friends outside of this. We just have to play hard for 2 hours and that's it. You don't have to care about anyone else. And I think that vibe doesn't necessarily sit well with everyone. And after reading a few more books, it's like, nah, that's not right. I think we actually have to know each other outside of Frisbee. Yeah, so something to work on for us for the next few seasons. I've personally not heard anyone say that we're too cliquey, but everyone, there's definitely cliques everywhere. So I'm going to assume that yes, at some point someone would have said that.
Yeah, just replying to Jana for our AUC uni teams, it's really hard because with the nature of universities, we have a lot of turnover every year. So a huge chunk of the team that is going to stay together are already really close and really good friends. And having a new influx of people, we really have to work hard to make sure that they fit in and they feel welcome. So we make sure it's easier with a uni club because there's an expectation to have a lot of social events, but the social events really do add to the quality of the team and making sure everyone feels part of a wider community. And it's something that I want to bring to club teams in the future as well. And I haven't really had that with Groot, but it's something that I think is really important.
Adding to that, Nexus this season did a lot of social events was planning to do a lot of social events and had like lots of things get up. And I didn't particularly enjoy my women's season last year, but this year, even though we didn't get to play at nationals, I was really felt like a part of the team like I hadn't before. So I definitely.
Great.
I think it's important as well if you are in the perceived clique, just self-awareness. I know so many times your friends, it's so natural to gravitate towards them, and just being really aware of inside jokes or things you have, or just little things like who you throw with at the start of a training. Just try and just pinpointing 2-3 people and be like, hey, can we really try and be expansive? Because I feel a lot of the things that the people who feel on the outside pick up, it's probably from insecurities in themselves for whatever reason. So if you just throw or just make a little joke or just something stupid that they remember, then I think they'll tack on to that a lot more.
Yeah, I've heard that if someone says, oh, it feels cliquey, and if you say cliques, what cliques? I don't think there's any cliques. You're in the clique then, because obviously you don't see it, right? So but yeah, social events, that's great points, Tara.
In the first Worlds campaign I ever played in, the coach made us do, and within the first 2 months of the campaign, made us do double disc with every player in the team before, in our own time, not during training. There was a spreadsheet and we had to take it off when we had done it. Wow. And I remember thinking that was pretty cool. That was Gary Jarvis. Sounds like something Gary would do.
Liam's doing it for Qatar.
Oh, nice.
Oh my god, I'm just reading through the messages that were sent throughout the whole thing. Did I miss anything important? Oh my god.
No, it's just yarns.
No, it's just banter.
Nice. Cool. All right, thanks a lot, guys. I'm really thankful that you spent 1.5 hours with me tonight. I hope that there were some lessons to take away, and if not, I don't know. Hope that you can share some things that you have heard today with others. And I hope that it teaches everyone to be better leaders in the women's ultimate scene or in the mixed scene.
Thanks. See ya.
Thanks.
Thanks,
See
Kat.
ya.
Great talk.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks.
See ya.
Bye. I'm gonna keep doing this.
Thanks for having me along, Kat. That was really cool.
No, it's so cool.
Thanks, man. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. Are you guys both in Wellington now?
I'm just visiting.
Oh, okay.
That is right.
Okay. All right. I'll see you guys. Have a good night.
You too.
Bye.